And welcome to That Marketing Show. I am your host, coming to you from sunny, beautiful downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in today. And every time we have, one of our great shows, we enjoy putting these on for all the folks out there for not only the PRAOA, the Public Relations Agency Owners Association, but being online, the ability for anybody to access this and share this from anywhere is a good thing. And today, that ability to share might be something that all the agency owners out there like myself are thinking about either now or in the not so distant future and saying, I've been doing this for X number of years. It might be time for me to move along. So we've got a great guest. If you're thinking about selling your agency, perhaps buying a different agency, or beginning a career in aviation, I guess, because you don't want to do the PR game anymore. Please join me in welcoming Art Stevens to the show. Art, thanks so much for being on.
It's a pleasure to be here, Roger. Thanks for inviting me.
Now, Art, why don't you give all the listeners a quick overview of who you are and what your organization does?
I sure will. Well, to start with, I am the managing partner of a firm called the Stevens Group, which, oddly enough, is named after me. And I facilitate mergers and acquisitions in the public relations agency space. And I have a lot of background in the world of public relations agencies. I created my own agency in New York City, which was called Lopes and Stevens. It had a 20-plus year run. It got to be about $8 million in size. I acquired 4 firms along the way during my role as CEO, and then I sold my firm to Publicis. So I have a lot of experience in knowing and understanding what the world of mergers and acquisitions is. And I've been doing this for the past 10 years, and I've done any number of transactions from very small agencies to very large agencies. So that's roughly my background, Roger.
That's great. Thank you, Art. And, I would say for all the people that own their own agency, and again, like myself, I mean, the agency, it's your baby. You've kind of nurtured it through, and you've helped it when it was healthy, and you've sent it off to college, and, it's this important thing to you. But I would imagine, Art, that emotions, you have to try to work to get those out of the equation when you're looking at some of these issues.
Well, that is for sure. I mean, having run your own agency and delegating all of the workload with your key people, account executives, and so on, that becomes a very emotional situation, because when it's time to think about moving on, each agency owner has to ask the question, can I really work for somebody else? I ask that of myself, and I know certainly all of the clients that I have dealt with over the years have asked that very same question. My role is to take agency owners through those emotions and feelings and get them to understand that in order to perpetuate their business and have it go on and be as successful as it was, you have to go through the emotion, and you have to understand that you need to work with others. And collaboration, synergy, and chemistry become really the key. And there's nothing like working with good people that help take you through those emotions.
Yeah, I would think that, certainly having not sold my firm, but, one day, that's certainly an option, or buying something would be an option. This isn't something that if you've never gone through it that you want to make up as you go along.
No, not really. With all due respect, I think you need professional help, whether it's me or my very able competitors out in the marketplace. But this is a very good time for a firm to consider being acquired. The marketplace is very open to such transactions. The world of public relations agencies is becoming more important to all kinds of buyers. And I would say that it is not something to be left to your own devices. It is something that you need counsel on, how to prepare your agency, how to recast your financial statements and your balance sheet, how to prepare your employees. All of those kinds of things, require professional help, and not something to be done, kind of willy-nilly.
Sure. And, I've heard horror stories of agencies that are attempting to be acquired. I've heard stories where one agency was going in looking to be acquired and they didn't like the other agency, so they turned around and attempted to buy them. And you hear stories of folks that literally just have hung on just entirely too long, and by the time that they decide maybe it is time to back away, they've created a legacy that has no value or no worth. So, what are some of the warning signs, or maybe some of the signs that, now's a good time to consider a change or consider selling the firm?
Every agency should run itself as though it's going to be acquired within the next year. If you run an agency that way, that means that it will be profitable, it will be streamlined, your key people will be retained, all the steps you need to take in order to be of interest to a subsequent buyer. So if you think you're going to be acquired or even contemplate being acquired, you've got to prepare now, even if it may take place 2, 3, 5 years from now. You've got to start now. So each agency owner should really run his or her business with the concept that I will be acquired and I have to get ready now.
That's a brilliant way to look at it, Art. I've never really thought of it that way, but that does keep that edge and keeps somebody focused on what it is that they want to do. Now, a lot of my contemporaries, as the chairman of the PRAOA, I'm talking with agency owners all the time, and certainly we're colleagues and not just competitors. But lately, Art, I don't know if it's just something in the economy or something in the air or something in the water, I have heard more stories of agency owner burnout in the last couple of years than I think I've ever heard combined in my previous 20.
That's very interesting, because it is a very difficult job to run a PR agency.
It is.
I'm one of the few people who facilitate mergers and acquisitions who have actually founded and run a PR agency that has grown and acquired a national reputation during its heyday. It is very difficult. The buck stops with you. You have so much to worry about. Clients coming, clients going, key employees leaving, trying to hold on to good employees. Watching the cash flow, hoping that, you can meet the payroll on a timely basis, all of those things. So it's not just, carrying out a public relations program for clients. It's really running a business and all the issues and challenges that come with running a business. I see burnout very often these days because people have been doing this for a long time, and all of a sudden they say, I'm really tired, I'm really spent, I need to do something else. So one of the reasons, by the way, that people CEOs of agencies look to be acquired is because the buyer will always take over, the administration, the grunt work, all the details, the billing, the cash flow, and that frees the PR agency owner who sells his or her firm to focus on client service and public relations and not the grunt side of business. That's why people get burned out. They're wearing so many hats.
Sure. And that's true. I mean, I you can't see the folks, but you're kind of witnessing this collective nodding of the head out there, and folks realizing that. And, but it's true. And I think that because the agency model has really shifted, I don't know that competition has ever been more fierce, and not just competition from other agencies. You see so many organizations bypassing the agency route and attempting to, quote unquote, do it all in-house or build that in-house agency, which I argue is disastrous for a business. But I wonder what other competition factors or factors other than burnout are driving more folks to consider a merger or consider a buy.
Well, I just want to take exception to something you said. I haven't seen that many people taking PR in-house. Okay. I mean, I know it's out there, but what I do see is the incredible growth of the PR agency business. I just returned from the spring conference of the Counselors Academy in Puerto Rico. Thank God I didn't come back with the Zika virus. But what I did see there are agencies that no one's ever heard of that do between 1 and 5 million, sometimes more than 5 million. You've never heard of them. They're in different parts of the country, in some instances, different parts of Canada. And these agencies are all growing. They're headed by, bright young people, who had been with other agencies and decided to start their own businesses.
Right.
So what I do see is the proliferation of PR agencies because the budgets are there, the work is there, and the fact that PR agencies are really taking over social media, digital, interactive, all of those functions. PR agencies are really gravitating toward that and doing it well. So I see the opposite. I see agencies really growing. But the reason that agencies want to be acquired is very often because they want the bigger accounts. And it's not that the PR agency owners are looking necessarily, to retire and play golf or raise horses or whatever, but they want to be part of a bigger operation. And one of the primary reasons that I see today for PR agency owners to sell their businesses is that they join forces with larger organizations that provide the resources for them to grow their businesses, to take on larger accounts, and, in other words, put a shot of adrenaline in them so that they are now going on to new things, new adventures. So retirement is really not the reason that people are selling their agencies. People are selling their agencies to grow.
And that makes sense. I mean, sometimes as the agency owner, you'll look at the team that you're working with, or even the clientele that you work with. What's the line? You dance with who brung you. But, you do your best to select the clients that you have. But absolutely, there are times, my small little agency, I would like to work on Budweiser. I'd like to work on Pepsi. So that might give me an opportunity to do that. I didn't think of it that way. Do you see, because we've been asked to take, you get approached every now and again by some company that wants to buy you and such. And, I'm always skeptical about those kind of things. I don't know how I would feel about working for someone else. Do you hear that a lot, after being an agency owner for, in my case, 10, 15 years? I don't know if I'd be a good employee.
Well, the key to it, and this is what I focus on, having been in your position, having sat in your chair and having run a PR agency, could I work with somebody else since I've been doing it by myself for so many years? Right. The answer is that chemistry, collaboration, synergy, culture are all an integral part of making that decision. The person that you want to gravitate toward is somebody that you believe you can work with because you share the same vision, you share the same personality traits, and that person is easy to work with. And the way to find that out is just the same way one finds out when you're romancing a prospective spouse. You have to spend a lot of time with that person. Right. You have to have more than one or two meetings. Very often, transactions are done on the basis of maybe one or two meetings, and that's not enough because you don't know what that person will be like to work with. So you've got to have many meetings, social meetings, dinners, lunches, at each other's offices, and get to know each other very, very well. And only when you feel that that is the case, and you are confident that even though you've worked on your own for so many years, you're confident that you can work with that person, then do it, because then you will have made that decision in a much more intelligent manner.
That makes sense. Now, if somebody's contemplating either buying an agency or selling their firm, how should they go about getting in touch with you, Art, and kind of take me through the process of how that works?
Well, they should reach out to me. My email address is art@theartstevensgroup.com. That's easy to remember, art@theartstevensgroup.com. They can reach out to me. They can tell me what is going on in their minds, why it is they're interested in selling or buying. And by the way, there's an interesting trend for even smaller agencies to make yet smaller acquisitions these days to build critical mass, and acquire greater talent. But I would have a conversation free of charge and just get to understand, what the considerations are on the part of the seller or owner and buyer that I may be chatting with. And if we then mutually feel, that A, there's a fit between us, and B, that I can be of help, then we would work out an agreement and an arrangement where I would identify and vet prospective buyers, for sellers. So at any rate, the way to reach me is art@theartstevensgroup.com.
And, that's as simple as it is. And, it's nice to have somebody, walking you through through that process. We as agency owners say the same thing to our clients. Don't go this alone. Trust and work with a pro. And I would say the same thing about the consummate professional in Art Stevens, who has a great newsletter, by the way. So if you're not subscribing to Art's newsletter, make sure you get that as well. If anybody needs to get in touch with Art and you can't remember Art at the Art Stevens Group, just get in touch with me. I am your most excellent host, coming to you live from downtown Cleveland, Ohio. This is Roger, over and out.